Now, let's go ahead and review, my friends, Intel. Intel has been going down. And I know that Intel was at 60s and now it's like at 30s, which is great. And there's a bill that actually passed, the CHIPS Act, which actually favors Intel, American company. They didn't do manufacturing. They actually outsource all of that, which sucks. I think that Americans should start doing more manufacturing. And I mean, that's very important. I think that creation of products is very important. By the way, Nespresso, bro. Woo! Love it. Intel hits lowest levels in 5 years as semiconductors plunge on recession rate fears. So Intel shares hit their lowest levels in more than 5 years on Monday, while the broader semiconductor industry sold off sharply on worries over a global recession and a more aggressive Federal Reserve. Santa Clara, California-based Intel fell more than 4% to close at 33.84. Even as the company is set to give details about its upcoming Meteor Lake processors at the Hot Chips 2022 conference. Pat Gelsinger, chief executive of Intel, spoke at the conference and gave updates on its Meteor Lake processors, along with the idea of chiplets putting multiple chips on a single processor. Since the start of the year, Intel has lost more than 36% of its value and has declined a similar amount over the past 12 months. Several of Intel's competitors, including Nvidia, AMD, Marvell, fell more than 3% on Monday, led by a 4.5% decline in Nvidia, as investors awaited a second quarter results from Nvidia and Marvell, I don't know how you pronounce that, later in the week. Morgan Stanley analyst Joseph Moore, who has an equal weight rating on both companies, said the duo could see pockets of weakness, gaming for Nvidia and storage and enterprise for Marvell, but the cloud and data centers are key. The analyst Moore noted that while Nvidia's recent pre-announcement showed weakness in the data center, it's likely this was an aberration and the long-term trajectory is still there. While the numbers have materially less downside, the stock has simultaneously appreciated. Moore wrote in a note to clients, "We are constructive, but a weakening semiconductor market could give a better entry point. We will leave a room to add to positions on weakness and will remain with an equal weight view." Nvidia is slated to report quarterly results on August 24th, which is tomorrow, guys. For Marvell, which reports on August 25th, Moore said it's likely there will be a mixed outlook, citing a few headwinds. "We expect generally good numbers here, given lead times that have come down at margin, but are still long," the analyst explained, adding that areas to watch include storage, enterprise networking, and potentially some inventory reduction in the cloud. Chip equipment makers continued to be in the spotlight as KLA Corp, Lam Research, and ASML Holding each fell at least 3% on Monday, led by a 4.5% decline in ASML. Last week, China criticized the US Chips and Science Act, saying the new law violates fair market principles and goes after the country's efforts to build its own semiconductor industry. What? The Biden administration is looking into whether it should restrict sales from semiconductor equipment makers such as ASML Holding and others to Chinese semiconductor manufacturers. Okay. Several other chip makers saw sharp declines on Monday, including Qualcomm, Texas Instruments, Broadcom, and Micron Technology, all of which fell 3% or more. Last week, investment firm Citi maintained its neutral ratings on AMD and Intel after the bank pointed to continued declines in notebook shipments, raising the risk for more downside for both companies. And with that said, love it, love it. Thank you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. We did Tesla, we did Nvidia, we did MRIN, we did NIO. Let's see if there's any other news that we gotta keep an eye on. Intel rises as it signs $30 billion deal with Brookfield to help pay for expansion, guys. Look at that. Oh, and Tilray, some news. Pre-market gamers. Perfect. So, Intel rises as it signs $30 billion funding deal with Brookfield to help pay for expansion. Here we go. This is what I was talking about, guys, a little bit earlier. So he says, Intel shares rose nearly 2% on Tuesday after the semiconductor giant said he had signed a deal with Brookfield Infrastructure Partners worth up to $30 billion to help pay for its factory expansion plans. Known as a semiconductor co-investment program, Intel said the deal will help accelerate its IDM 2.0 strategy. Under the deal, Intel will fund 51% of its previously announced expansion at its Ocotillo campus in Arizona, with Brookfield paying the remaining 49%. Intel will retain majority ownership and operating control of the factory. In a statement, Intel Chief Financial Officer David added that it builds on the recent passage of the CHIPS Act in the US, which provided $52 billion in subsidies and grants to the expansion of the domestic production of semiconductors. Semiconductor manufacturing is among the most capital-intensive industries in the world, and Intel's bold IDM 2.0 strategy demands a unique funding approach, Cisner explained. Our agreement in Brookfield is a first for our industry, and we expect it will allow to increase flexibility while maintaining capacity on our balance sheet to create a more distributed and resilient supply chain. The deal is expected to close by the end of 2022. In an interview with the Wall Street Journal, Intel Cisner said the companies will split the revenue from the factory. Cisner also told the Journal he was confident that the company will have more co-financing deals as it builds plants in other parts of the world. Earlier this year, Intel said it will spend as much as $88 billion over the next decade building out its operations in Europe, including an $18.6 billion mega fab in Germany. Expected to be included in that $88 billion is an investment in Italy that could be worth as much as $5 billion. Look at that. That's actually great news for Intel. We did talk about it a little bit earlier, guys. Whoop. My mouse is changed. So Intel Corporation. Here you go. So it is up 33.96. I said that Intel is not in a bad place. I would love to see it at 30s, but 34 is a good price right now. Not bad, Intel. Congratulations. That's actually good funding. Good funding for you. By the way, Bionanogenomics, I'm